The loss that you get from 35, 40 years old is at first slow, and then a bit quicker, and then it escalates. It's like a melting glacier. If the strength has gone, you have no ability to do what the body's designed to do. You can't have metabolic efficiency if you've lost pure strength. As we know, when you break a hip when you're in your 60s, the chances of then dying in the following 12 months are significantly, enormously higher. If you stayed on program, 30s to 40s, 50s, 60s, your loss in strength is almost zero.
Amazing. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Eat, Burn, Sleep podcast. I'm very excited to have Matt Roberts here with me today. He is the OG wellness pioneer, personal trainer, the first big name in the health and wellness and personal training world in London. And I've heard his name many moons ago, and we were introduced by our dear friend Denzel, and I have him today in the studio with me. How are you, Matt?
I'm really good. When I'm called OG, it's always like I feel being old, but it's not. It's actually it's a great compliment. And what's really nice actually is I have been around for a long time, and I've been doing this for 30 years. So I've actually seen every single trend and things come and go and ideas come and go in my space, which is around now. Really, health span is probably the term we're using now. Longevity is that whole area. It started being very much geared in the fitness direct world, but actually in reality, for me, actually from day one, all those moons ago, it was actually exactly in the health span domain that I started. So all I do now is exactly 30 years ago, not as advanced as now, because things are advancing like crazy in the industry and in science and research that backs it all up. And there's a really nice convergence now of medical alongside fitness, and that's what we specialize in doing as well. So it's at a really interesting phase. So the OG is good because it's covered a lot of good ground and territory.
I mean, when you've spent 30 years looking at bodies and different dynamics and problems, and I can't even imagine all the experience you have, and this is what I want to pick your brain on today. So you've got 2 studios in London, one in Mayfair, one in Knightsbridge. Mm-hmm. You've written books, people know about you, you've told me your story where you were actually an athlete and then you were injured and you kept this passion for sports, which got translated into becoming an expert in, as you say, health span and body recomposition and so on. And there are 2 things I'd like us to talk about today, because we could talk about a million things.
For sure.
But there are 2 things where I feel that my listeners are going to really benefit from your expertise. The first one is muscle mass after the age of 35 for men and women. And then I would love us to talk about what we quickly spoke about when I came to see you, which is your clients who are on weight loss drugs and how you get them to minimize the side effects, and what are the challenges of these drugs and what you see in the practice, because we read all this research and one day it's fabulous and the next day they're telling us it's terrible, and but you get to see it every day.
The 2 things cross over completely. So let's start with the basics of it in terms of the muscle loss, which is horrific in terms of if you take the raw data of this stuff. If you did nothing, if you were just on a plane, live your life every day, don't intervene, the loss that you get from 35, 40 years old is at first slow, and then a bit quicker, and then it escalates. It's like a melting glacier. You start with a few drips, and then it gets to being a bit of a flow, and then it's a torrent, and then the whole thing then collapses. Between the age of about 40 and 50, your loss of muscle mass, size, forget strength for the moment, but just size alone, is maybe 2 to 5% in that decade. So, okay, it's some loss, but it's not the end of the world. 50 to 60 becomes around 8 to 10%. 60 to 70 could be 15, 18%. You're literally accelerating through this process. And the reason why I separate away the strength and the size thing is you lose the mass at that rate, but you lose the strength more quickly. So in that first decade where you think, well, I've only lost this small amount of mass, you might have lost not 2 to 5% as you have in the size in that time, but you've lost maybe 10% of your strength. And the following decade in your 50s, where you've lost maybe 8 to 10% of your size, you've lost 15, 20% of your strength. Now, losing strength is the most important thing to get right wrong.
Yeah.
Because the size is, fine. You want to look a certain, that's aesthetic in many ways. If the strength has gone, you have no ability to do what the body's designed to do. You can't have metabolic efficiency if you've lost pure strength. You can if you lose size, but lose strength, and you just cannot. Strength defines how your body processes glucose. And if you can't control that, we have this knock-on effect of them being into, the start the formations of being pre-diabetic. So these are all issues that we have to overcome. It has a knock-on effect too of how your body holds itself upright. Your pure skeletal structure relies on your strength being good. Those voluntary and involuntary muscles are there for a good reason, to make sure we can stand up and sit down and do what we need to do. As we lose strength, we also have that risk as people get older in their 50s and 60s and beyond of not being able to catch the fall. You trip on a thing, you go forward, you go sideways, you go somewhere, and when you're younger, you just kind of, you have the catch step. And when you get older, if there's no strength there, it's gone. And as we know, when you break a hip when you're in your 60s, the chances of then dying in the following 12 months are significantly, enormously higher. So the strength is really critical. And the loss is devastating because everyone's busy. We have these lives that we have to lead where everyone's working super hard. Have you got time to spend on doing some exercise? Hopefully people do. But reality is most people just don't do it. There's always other things either to get done, and time is short. But equally, the choices have to be that time is short, but you have to optimize your return on your investment on your time. You've got time to do something else, wherever that thing might be, watch TV. I'm not saying don't see your friends and be social, but you have to make some choices over what's going to make you able to function at your best version of yourself and live for longer. And with no strategic exercise, that's not going to be possible, not going to happen. So we need to make sure that every single person hits some fairly easy low bars at a young age, because from the age of 35, 40, that's when this kind of slow rot begins to happen. But if you only did 1 or 2 sessions per week of just 15, 20 minutes of pretty significant loading, that alone is enough to maintain your muscle mass in that 30 to 40 decade. I'm not asking you to go to the gym 5 days a week and go and crucify yourself in various ways, or be super, super strict on the diet. We have to be strict to a point, clearly, but it's not the key thing within this context. It's only doing a small amount of the right structured approach. And for your 30s, 40s, where you're still going to be probably pretty punchy on your hormone levels, you've got high testosterone, you've got good estrogen from a female perspective, you've got the ability to retain muscle mass, good blood flow going on, it's all great. So retaining mass is quite straightforward if you're doing the work. Now, as time goes by, it takes more, unfortunately. So we all know this, is that at a certain point in time, the work that you do in the gym, the effects of it become less long-lasting. So, the more time you're away from working out, then the quicker that drop-off happens. In fact, with that in mind, there's some horrifying stats on that too, is that when you go away on a holiday, and if you're really into a workout, you think, oh my God, I'm going away for a week or 2, I'm going to lose everything. The good news is, in the first week of being away, your drop in your fitness level is only maybe 1-2%. It's tiny. It's rectifiable in no time. Weeks 3 to 4, it accelerates a little bit, a bit like the strength loss, goes down by maybe 5 to 8%. By week 8, if you did nothing for 8 weeks, all the work you'd done the previous 6 to 12 months would all be gone.
Oh my God.
So you've got a window where you can get away with it, and a window where you just can't. So you've got to have this cognizant approach of what can I get away with here? I can get away, if it's a minimum thing you're going for, it's twice a week, and that will sustain you in your 30s and 40s. When you're in your 40s and 50s, it's probably 3 days a week, and then beyond that, it's doing something somewhat active 4 or 5 days a week. So people in their 60s, 70s, 80s listening to this, this is not a case of, in the old days, you get to your 70s, 80s, and you have to kind of take it easy. Forget that. When you're in your 70s, you should be working out in some form or other. You should be adding resistance. And yes, there are things to be aware of. Yes, there's joint dilapidation. Yes, there's things to be conscious of. But you need to be able to move the body to get those joints to become stronger. If they're structurally unsound, that's different, clearly. You've got to make sure those bodies that are losing mass at a fast rate can retain it and maintain it. And the truth is, you feel, as we know, you feel great by being proactive. And the longer you sit down and do nothing, those aches that you get, they just get worse. You want to fix a lower back problem? Move. You want to fix a knee problem? Move. Get stronger. So the answers are right there in front of us. We are designed to move. We are designed to be challenged and tested. And we have to take that from a very serious perspective at a very young age. With that in mind, actually, people females in their 50s, 60s and beyond, the fear of osteoporosis is high for good reason. The numbers become very big around menopause, perimenopause time. Peak bone density happens in your 20s. So we've got to make sure women are being tested, eating well, but being tested physically in their teens into their 20s, because by 24, 25, you've reached your peak. Yeah. And it's downhill from there, unless you stay on the program, unless you challenge yourself. And with that in mind too, with the strength in mind, these losses I spoke about with having this 2% at first and then 8% of loss of strength, if you stayed on program throughout the entire period of 30s to 40s, 50s, 60s, your loss in strength is almost zero.
Amazing.
So nothing at all. You can stay exactly the same, retain, therefore, metabolic efficiency, retain strength, retain posture, of having just consistency. Consistency is always key. Maintaining
is so much easier than building. Whether it is trying to reverse the diagnosis or... Once you get to a healthy point, for example, I have people who come to me with autoimmunity. If the disease is active, it's harder to get them into remission. But once we're in remission, it's much easier to maintain. And what you're describing is that. Entirely. So trying to gain that muscle mass back is harder than just maintaining it once you have it.
Muscle mass is incredibly hard to build. And that's why, again, lots of females, in particular with strength training programs, have concern over, I don't do lots of strength work because I'm going to get just too bulky. I bulk up. Honestly, it's incredibly hard for most guys to gain muscle mass, and they have the tools at their disposal to gain mass more quickly. For females, it's phenomenally hard, but females do gain strength quickly. And that's where females really win. In fact, females gain a bit more strength as a percentage faster than men do, by doing the same equivalent workouts. So with girls who've got a lot to gain, there's just a great response mechanism, and don't suffer with the same mass changes. So, and you're right, the thing is trying to create that muscles are just fibers, and within them there's strands, they're long strands with multiple nuclei. And it takes activation of all of those cells and nuclei to make sure we create this overload. You want to break a few and then make them regenerate and regrow. And that means having a phenomenally tough program, eating a phenomenal amount of food to feed and build and grow. And honestly, that takes such a lot of work for most people. That's outside of their remit, which is fine because we're not looking to build muscle mass, we're looking to stay strong. Our goal for most people is to live for longer and stay stronger for longer. So it's really, there shouldn't be a fear factor around. And you're absolutely right. It is about just this process of just tapping away, making some changes, getting that flow going on, retain. That's all we need. If you could go back 5 years or stay as you are and have the same condition from 5-10 years ago, would you take it? Probably, most people, because over that time, inevitably, there's a change in the body. There's an aging process that happens. So if you can just stay the same, so forget getting loads better, just don't go down. So we're looking to just retain where you are and not slip. And that's where structured training on the strength side, for sure. I mean, look, there are two key facets of fitness that we're focused on predominantly. There's a whole bunch of other things too. But we want to make sure someone has phenomenally good strength and phenomenally high VO2.
Yeah.
And those two things, if you just did those two things as focus.
Can you explain to people what VO2 is?
Yeah, so it's your body's ability to take on board oxygen and utilize it when challenged. And the higher the number per minute of uptake that you've got, the more oxygen you can take on board. And if you challenge yourself, you can just do more work. So if someone has a score of, look at the numbers, if someone scores 25 VO2, then when they do their kind of, let's go for a run, by 2K in, they're suffering. Someone's VO2 is 52, 55, they can go for 20K and it's all fine. The ability to adapt and cope and be challenged, you just adapt and adjust and you go with it. And that is a direct correlation with longevity. Low VO2, I don't think ever has had someone live a long time.
Yeah.
You have to have higher VO2 to have a chance of living for longer, without question. So we focus on raising VO2 enormously and being phenomenally strong. Outside that, then, being mobile, and mental training as well, good diet, and all these things too. But clearly, those are the two key facets that without those, everything else you might want to try and do would be semi-unworthwhile. Because even if you had the best positive mental attitude in the world, if your VO2 is not good and you're not strong, you're going to die younger anyway. So you've got to have those to be incredibly good. And then we can live for a long, long time.
Yes, I think what you are describing about women being afraid of becoming bigger is they're mistaking water retention with muscle mass. And I'm someone who suffers from inflammatory issues. And whenever I would go to the gym, if the trainer was just applying to me what they do to everyone, which is more, I would end up completely swollen for days on end because I get more inflamed than the average.
Yeah.
So you have to, it doesn't mean you should not be lifting. It means that you need to listen to your body and just adapt and maybe modify depending on your cycle, or at least that's what I do. Is there are times where I can push more because I've slept well, because my diet's been clean, because if I have other things that are triggering inflammation a little bit and I go too hard at the gym, which I love, by the way, because that's the kind of person I am, I then get water retention, pain in the joints, which are all of these signs of inflammation, of having tipped the balance over. But that doesn't mean that I've suddenly gained a kilo of muscle mass.
And I think it's highly valid points, because there's definitely a way in which when people are training, the wrong approach does the wrong thing. And if someone is not with the autoimmune stuff, but if someone is highly stressed, for example, there's a point at which the body's already in an inflamed state. So trying to then smash the workout, lift multiple sets at a high level, go and do that high intensity training of the interval work and really push it, because you might feel like you might just blow off some steam and get out there. It's the worst thing you can do, because you're in a state where already you're inflamed, already you're not really in a great place. You've got to do more of a semi-calming approach to exercise. Doesn't mean coming right off it. It means adapting and adjusting. And the funny thing with strength work is that it's also confused in its methodology between strength work and size gaining work. So mass development work takes multiple sets. You go for a burnout often. You go for that feeling of ripping the muscles apart, to try and create this trauma to then get some regrowth. Strength work doesn't need to do that. Strength work is just challenging you. So trying to make sure it's basically less reps, high loading, less reps. People always feel almost no pain the next day after a strength training session compared to a mass gaining session. We're looking for activation and strength build, not size development by ripping you apart. And that's a different distinction. So the work you might have done before, without question, in the wrong approach, would make you super inflamed. There's no doubt at all. You're going to get that retention within the cells, around the joints as a byproduct of that, and all that goes with all of that as well. And it's a longer recovery process. If you'd done it as being just pure strength, we're going to come in, we're going to get you just gradually warmed up, use a ramp system of building and developing your movement, get your temperature up, get you ready. It's nice, it's kind of good, it's fun, engaging, and then we're going to make you lift. You're doing one set for 8 reps. That's all. Pretty challenging. Long recovery, a couple of minutes, 3 minutes. And then go back in again, you're fully recovered, you do it again, 8 lifts, 10 lifts, somewhere there maybe. You might do maybe 4 sets, maybe 5. And that bit's done. That's it. So it's unlikely you're going to get the sense of being torn to bits, but you are highly activated and you probably won't get the swelling. So it's where approaches are really misused, misinterpreted. It's basic. And what we try to do is make sure we focus on, what does the client, what the blood's saying, what's their gut told us, what's their overall makeup, how can we make a difference to this person in what they're dealing with, and make sure that our overall long combined goal of having a great health span, improved longevity is hit. And in the process, should feel like it's a good thing. And there's always bumps along the road. I mean, it's just the way that it goes. And we all deal with stuff along the way, whether that's immune conditions or anything else that happens. But it's having the ability to, we like to audit people. So we basically take someone and it's go through, here's all of our great experts. I've got an amazing team of experts covering various things. So I know what I'm talking about, but I've got people who know much more than I do in their fields. So we pull all of our talents together and make sure that the client gets the best of all of that. And we can pick apart any issue, from autoimmune conditions to a knee replacement to anything, everything, to people who have been Olympic medaled athletes and pro footballers. It's a smorgasbord of types of approaches, and each one is forensically dissected, taken apart and rebuilt.
What you're saying is really interesting, because my son made me do this. I said to him, I want to go to the gym with you, but every time, he said to me, come, Mom, we're going to train together. And I wanted to do the next set and the next set. And he made me wait 3 minutes.
Oh, good boy.
Sets.
Yeah, well, there you go. So,
and the next day I wasn't inflamed. If anything, I had lost water.
Sure, of course you have.
And
of course
I was
you
like,
have.
oh my God, my 17-year-old son made me understand. Yeah. And he showed me some studies where actually when you take longer rests, you also build muscle more. So I think he was doing it like that for him.
Yeah, if you take too short a rest, we're looking for optimization. So if you have too short a rest, you cannot recover. And we're looking for each of the lifts that you do in a strength development program. And it's different. I've got to define between strength work, powerlifting work, bodybuilding work. They're all different facets in the same area. With this in mind, strength work, though, it's very much about if you had a minute of rest, there is zero chance of your next set being optimal performance. It can only be a part of. So you have to wait. You have to kind of, take your time, maybe look at your phone, have a chat, and just enjoy the process. And it's a slowed down workout, and that's okay. That's a good thing. So it's really just having this ability to understand there's a reason why you pace. And that's why I said at the outset is that this frequency thing as well, this is not about doing that 4 or 5 days a week.
Yeah.
This is doing it quite infrequently. Most bodies don't recover super quickly. You might get away with doing it every second day, maybe. More likely that body part you worked on hard will take a third day. So body parts twice per week, probably enough for most people to get that development that you need from the strength recovery and development later on. So it's about pacing all of it. And then alongside that, having all the strategies to make sure you've got the other things to make you operate and functioning well. So, alongside strength work, we don't just want someone to just be strong. We want good heart strength.
Yeah.
And there's 2 quick ways to go about that. And one is, zone 2 cardio. Zone 2 cardio is probably more spoken about now on various podcasts around the world than ever before, but for good reason. In that this is the level at which it strongly appears there's really strong mitochondrial health being developed. So your body's cell batteries, the decision over how you utilize energy, your ATP creation, how you can utilize fatty acids, fats, or glycogen, sugars, is all defined by mitochondrial health. Zone 2 cardio strongly appears to probably improve the efficiency, and therefore you become a very good fatty acid, fat-burning machine. And that's good. But you also give yourself this really good base layer of cardio fitness over long duration. Zone 2 normally is done for 35, 40 plus minutes. And it always feels like for some people it's just, this is too easy. This can't be the thing, because I'm just I'm not challenging him, not pushing. But again, step off the gas a little bit. It's sort of have a conversation type level. It's not strolling quietly in the park. It's definitely pushing enough to be a workout. But at that level, we're creating this really good base of VO2, this volume of oxygen capability. Alongside that, within the course of your week, that might be, say, 3 sessions of zone 2. You've got to also test yourself to get to zones 3, 4, and 5. There are 5 zones of cardio training, 5 being you are sprinting. It's short. In the course of a week, your zone 5 training might be only 2 minutes, 3 minutes of actual time spent in zone 5. So it's short, it's tiny amounts. Zone 4 might be around 15 minutes, somewhere there. And zone 3, when you're going for a reasonable pace run, for example, that's zone 3 training for most people, and that's going to be around roughly an hour and a quarter. And the zone 2 is the longest part. It's a pyramid. So if you're doing all of that, the net effect of being healthy in that way means when you are doing the strength work, your gains are significantly higher because your body is all ready, it's healthy and well, it's got adaptation going on already. If I give it a test to do, it'll clear out the lactic acid created or the acids created by doing strength work. That burn that you get, it's quicker dispelling that. And that 3 minutes of rest becomes really efficient 3 minutes, and then you're back into the next set and it's great. So it's planning and structuring the workouts to suit the need.
So in real life, the zone 2 is fast walking?
Fast walking. I mean, it has to be,
walking.
yeah,
like
that's the thing.
The heart rate's at 120, 135?
Yeah, so if you're, obviously, not that you look it, but if you were in your, let's say you're in your 20s, it would be higher. It would be 135, probably 140, somewhere there. Once you're in your 40s and then into 50s, it's around, 120 to 130. We all wear, I wear a Whoop device, and these are great. You can get Aura as well, also good. I prefer Whoop personally. I'm not affiliated, but I think it's good to get the data. And my personal zone 2, I'm 52 years old, my personal zone 2, they bumped it up to being around 128 to 137. Well, yes and no, because it means now to be in zone 2, I'm really working what is quite a fast pace. Damn it. So, but that's fine. It's okay.
I need to check mine. I have a Whoop. I need to check my zone 2.
Yeah. Well, on there now, what's great about all the wearable tech is that you can get so much data and information that's really pertinent and relevant. And on wearable tech, things like with Whoop devices, your VO2 is now on there. So you can see that, and it's really good to see where you are. And it's a reality check. And actually, you've seen as well, there's a longevity score on there too, so you can see your biological age. What I like about that, so it's a really good algorithm actually, is that, who knows if it's accurate or not, but it's actually quite a good incentive. It lets you know the rate of aging.
Yeah.
So you got to be...
reduced mine.
I'm now... I hit this...
Because I'm competitive.
Me too. So it's great. So it's just completely... I'm not going out anywhere. I'm not doing anything. No, I am. But I've got mine into reverse, like Benjamin Button. It's in reverse now. So I'm now going backwards by half a year per year, which is great. So, but the work that it takes to go into it, you've got to be on it and diligent and be in bed, kind of not too early, but get some hours of sleep. But actually, do you know what? It's just fun to check in with the data, and you shouldn't be obsessed by it.
Yeah.
It's a fine line because it's just so interesting. But it's good to give you a steer, and it's a reminder. It's a check-in to say, oh, you know what, I'm averaging, whatever it might be, 5.5 hours of sleep or 6 hours of sleep, and you think I've got to get more. So if you're being shown the data, at least you know that and take steps to make changes. If you know that you're VO2 is down at 25, well, you've got to make changes there. If it says you've only done, 30 minutes of zone 2 in the week, well, you should be doing an hour and a half. So it just gives you some reminders along the way, and that's no bad thing whatsoever. But it's great to have that to then give someone, from our perspective, training people, a very clear look at, okay, well, this is you. This is what we know you do. The easy wins here are just do up this thing and this thing. And they're going to get this kind of gradual slowdown of your aging process. And that's part of that muscle retention and part of that process of staying lean and healthy.
Thank you for listening so far. We'll be continuing this conversation in part 2, so make sure you're subscribed to the Eat, Burn, Sleep podcast so you do not miss it. In the meantime, for those of you who are not members of the platform yet, we have a discount code for all our podcast listeners. You can get 15% off all Eat, Burn, Sleep memberships. Just enter the code podcast15 at checkout on the memberships page on eatburnsleep.com. We still have so much more to cover, so please stay tuned.